My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Robert. In every episode, we're bringing you faith stories and fishing memories from some amazing members of the fishing community.
So join us as we shed a positive light on all things faith and fishing. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
Hey, and I'm Robert.
And this week we have an episode that I am very excited about. We have, it's not every day we have somebody on the podcast that their beard puts mine to shame, but I am excited about it. But before we jump into the episode, just a little bit of housekeeping stuff. So Robert, did you get a chance to do a little bit of fishing since last time we talked?
Yeah, I did. Since last week, I jumped over. We talked about I started a different job along with, lawn care and landscape, and I'm still doing that on the side. But I actually started a job at an oil company that's close by, and lo and behold, the next property over, there's 3 or 4 big ponds. So I've been sneaking over there on my lunch break and snagging some pretty good bass, actually. And there's a bunch of dudes there that bass fish. So, I mean, we hit it off, and so I'm having a big time with that. So there's nothing better to be able to go snag a couple of bass and on your lunch break. So it's working out pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, I started a new job yesterday, and in between I had a 3-day weekend. So I was able to take the kayak out and do a little bit of fishing. It was an okay day. I got to do a lot of exploring. The water was up higher than normal, so I was able to get back into some creeks I'd never been back in before. Caught some crappie on a jerkbait. Still have never caught a crappie on purpose, but I catch them all the time bass fishing. But I was back in the creek about 2.5 miles away from the boat ramp, got some potentially scary news, and needed to get back to the car, and I was paddling like crazy trying to get back, and I stopped at this tree, and I was like, you know what? I know I'm not supposed to test God or anything, but I just want to throw a cast up under this tree, and I want God to just let me know that that everything's going to be okay, that Daddy's going to be okay. And only bass of the day was caught under that tree on that cast. So
there you go.
God humored me with my little test there, but yeah, that was a special catch. But yeah, man. So I wanted to let everybody know that Jackson Oars charity tournament, we had been promoting that. We're going to continue promoting that. It has been postponed, so now that is going to be, let me pull up the calendar here. That is going to be November 18th through the 20th. So if you were listening to this on the day it comes out, that means that you've got a few days left to sign up. I think you can sign up until I think right before the tournament on you can sign up on.
It's probably midnight the night before. Yeah.
That's how he typically does it, at least. But yeah, and only other thing I wanted to mention was, we're partnered with Omnia Fishing, and y'all, if y'all have not signed up for the premium membership, it is definitely something to look into, because they have these deals that come up, like over on Halloween night they had a matching points or double points. So
yeah.
You get a certain amount back. I think it's 10% back on your purchases with a premium membership. And so if you're like me and you want to save up that FNF 15, that 15% discount, so I was able to get that discount. So you get that back on anything that does not have a discount of 20% or more. So at 15%, they gave us just enough that we could get some off, but we still got our premium membership stuff there. So
yeah, that's a pretty good deal. That premium membership, I like it just because it's free shipping on anything, so you don't have to meet a minimum requirement. So sometimes I just want to test out a bait or two, and I'll order it from them just because I got the premium membership and it's free shipping. But yeah, you guys go check it out. Check out both of our angler profiles on there, and it's FNF 15 for 15% off. Dude, I am stoked for tonight. I am stoked for our guest, and so I'm pumped up.
Absolutely. Well, I am too. So let's go ahead. Let's have some words from sponsors. And right after that, we'll get this guy introduced.
Atollas, based out of Charleston, South Carolina, is an eyewear accessory and gear company focused on enhancing your time on the water. Their floating sunglass retainers are the most technically advanced around. Over 5 years of engineering, testing, and exhaustive feedback from paddlers, anglers, and watermen have resulted in a patented design in a class of its own. They're incredibly light and comfortable, built for durability, sport a sleek, minimal design, float virtually all brands and models of sunglasses, and they're backed for life. So if you break them, Atollas will replace them. No questions asked. Whether you're fishing, kayaking, or boating, Atollas will save your shades from the dream. Head on over to atollas.co to check out their gear and use promo code FAITHINFISH15. That's faith, the letter N, fish, the number 1, 5 at checkout to save 15% on your order. Savior Outdoors gives me confidence that no matter what happens, what I take on the water is coming back home with me. With retrieval devices for fishing rods, bow fishing bows, action cams, and even one that can be attached to your other gear, they've got your whole arsenal covered. When one of these devices goes in a drink, it releases a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back, and the pressure-sensitive filter means that you don't have to worry about rain or dips in the water while landing a fish. At SaviorOutdoors.com, that's SAVUR Outdoors.com, you can use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% and try them for yourself.
All right, man. So, what do you want to say about this guest?
Hey, man, you guys have heard me and Cam talk before. We're podcast junkies. So cutting grass all summer long, man, I put the podcast on and hit play on Monday, and I play them all week long until Friday. So this guy comes up, and I've listened to, I won't say all of them, but the majority of them. And he has a good twist on it. He does a Friday night live and then rolls that over into a podcast. So you can jump on, join the conversation on Friday nights, or you can, like I do, I wait for the podcast to come out, because with kids, ball, and all that jazz going on, very rarely can jump on Friday nights. But luckily, he puts it in podcast form and puts that out as well. So, what about you?
Before that, man, I found out about him by his videos. I've learned a lot about him. Learned a lot about fishing from him. He fishes a very similar style as I do. Getting back in the creeks and
dirt shallow,
pushing back where other people won't go. And but yeah, I'm excited to get Alex Rudd introduced. So Alex, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I have to say I'm blushing over here just a little bit. That was a phenomenal intro from you boys. I don't know if I'm actually that cool. That's I tell people all the time, like, listen, I'm like the most uncool guy that you'll ever meet. I just enjoy fishing and happen to make some videos and some podcasts about it. But I do appreciate you boys and your kind words, because so I put a lot of work into this, and to know that it's that people enjoy it, and to know that it's growing like it is, and just to see the enjoyment that people get out of it, it really brings a smile to my face. So I appreciate you guys very, very much.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. And even if you don't feel like you're cool, at least know that your beard is.
Hey, that's the thing. The beard has brought me this far, right? I always just blame it on the beard. People are like, Alex, what did you do right? I was like, I just grew a beard. That's all that happened.
There you go.
Oh yeah, that's I do appreciate though the podcast. The podcast is so funny, man. Like the podcast is a trip because it was like so unintentional. You know what I mean? Like it was very just second thought to the live stream. And like, you know, I myself am a podcast junkie. And so I thought, well, if I'm doing these live streams and they're going to be hour and a half, 2 hours long, sometimes, you know, we're going to sit here and we're going to talk to these people and hee-haw and carry on and whatever else happens on some of these Friday Night Lives and these podcasts. I mean, there's no telling what can happen. I thought, why not turn it into a podcast? And then I turned it into a podcast and it exploded. And I was like, wow, okay. And what is even crazier about it is like a lot of people go, you know, you're following, it's just from the following that you already have, but it isn't. Like that's the crazy part is it's its own like thing that exists and it is just wild. But I love it. Like I tell people all the time, like podcasting is one of the funnest things that I get to do. This is my favorite thing right here because I feel like, you know, within a 20-minute video or a 6-minute video or even a 30-minute video, you know, or an Instagram post or whatever it is, people don't get to like hear. I can't flesh out my ideas as much, and like I have to like really flesh my ideas out a lot. Like that's why I have people on that I do that will challenge me, because when they challenge me is when I can really start to think about it. And I mean, it could take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to really get my thought fully formed, but the podcast allows me to do that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I mean, you know, like I said, if I'm cutting grass all day, man, I'll stick my headphones on and just go to town and just go through the whole list every week of all the different podcasts that come out. And, you know, I had seen videos and listened to the Friday Night Lives and then started listening and catching up on the older ones on the podcast. But I think the podcast there's so many people that are working that you cannot look at a screen, you know, because you're actually supposed to be doing something, you know, but you can put the headphones in and you can listen while you're doing things. And I think that's why, and so many people drive for a living too. I mean, whether it's a freight driver or Uber drivers or whatever, they can put on a podcast and listen to it. And I even went so far as to I messaged MLF and wanted them to put out an audio stream of the events. Yeah. Because what I was doing was turning my screen down. I was turning the brightness all the way off so I could hear the broadcast, because you have to have the video pulled up. If you don't have the video pulled up, you can't hear it. So I figured out a way to do it without running my battery down. And I don't think they thought there was much value in that audio stream, but I think if somebody did that and the elites or whoever just put out an audio stream, and it can't be hard to separate the audio out of it and just, you know, put it out there. But
I mean, dude, the podcast thing and just the whole audio format as far as like content. I mean, I know for me, like today I went fishing, but I still have my AirPod in listening to a podcast while I fish. And some people, you know, they don't get that. And they're like, you know, oh, it's my time to detach and be in nature. Oh, I'm still in nature, but like I'm listening to a podcast while I do it. It's like, it's almost part of my, like what I do now. Like I listen to, I mean, probably 20, 30 hours of podcasts per week, just driving and going and doing and, you know, to and from or fishing, wherever it is. I'm constantly listening to something because I have this philosophy. I call it passive learning. Like, you know, some podcasts I listen to are just funny. Like I listen to this, it's called Two Bears, One Cave. It's Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. And this is one of those, like I turn on and just listen to it because it's two comedians and it's literally all you're going to do for 30 minutes is horse laugh. You know what I mean? But then sometimes, you know, I'm listening to Meat Eater or Joe Rogan or whatever it is. And like today I listened to a guy, his name was Will Harris, and he was on Rogan and they were talking about regenerative farming. And like, man, I learned more about regenerative, I can't say that word, farming than I ever knew about. And it was like while catching fish, you know, but you're right, man, like that whole audio format, I don't know, it's fascinating to me that so many of these companies and so many people still haven't caught on to the podcast yet, because the podcast is the future. I mean, it is taking the place of radio.
Yeah, it's basically on-demand radio. It's on-demand radio. You can type in the search bar whatever you want to hear about, and somebody's got a podcast about it.
Exactly.
And, you know, and so it's really, I don't know, I love it, and I'm addicted to it, and so. here we are.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. And so let's kind of get the backstory on Alex Rudd. So I know that you've never been shy whenever it comes to voicing your faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do things a little bit backwards today, and I'm gonna dive right into the faith side of things.
Do it.
What is your faith story? Like, tell us what you believe, how you came to believe that, man.
Yeah. So, grew up in church, but like never, like, I don't know, like my whole young childhood, like I grew up in church, but it wasn't really ever like a priority, right? Like faith, I don't know. It was weird. Like, and I was probably about 10, 11, really like got, locked into a good, like, family as far as a Christian family at a church, and went there for years and years and years. Some things happened and at that church, and almost kind of deconstructed my faith. Right, it was like Need to Breathe wrote a song, and one of the lines is, "I've seen the fire be put out by too much gasoline," and like it's almost what happened there. It was like, I had to take a step back and like really think about like, what is this that I believe? What do I really believe in? Like, what is it that us as Christians are really supposed to be doing? And in that time, I learned what it really meant to be more like Jesus. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think we get very caught up in, I don't know, like this stigmatized, weird, like glamorous view of this religion. You know what I mean? And like, I want to have a relationship, not a religion. I want to have a meaning to what I'm doing, and a meaning to why I love people and try to love people. That's the hardest thing for me, is to love people, because I'm not a very trustworthy, I don't trust people very much. But it's like, I'm still growing. I don't know. I mean, I was like, that's the thing, is like people like, what do you believe? I believe that Jesus Christ is my Savior. I believe that he died on a cross, 3 days later, he rose from the dead. I believe the core values of which, you have to believe to be a Christian and be a follower of Jesus. But man, I still am learning so much every day. And like my faith grows every day. And it's fascinating, some of the things that I look at and discover. And I actually was reading the other day, it was in, I think it's 2 Corinthians, maybe it's 1 Corinthians. But it's when Paul's talking about love. Love is patient, love is kind. Everybody knows that part. But everybody misses the part right at the very end. And the part right at the very end, and I would implore everybody to go read it, because it's fascinating. It says, when I was a child, I acted like a child. When I became a man, I threw away childish things. But then after that, it said, but my faith is like looking in a mirror, and it's an enigma of what it's supposed to look like, because I'm never going to really know what it means to believe and to love until I see it face to face. Meaning, until we get to where we're going, that it's really an enigma as to what we're supposed to be doing. But the closest thing that we got to it is the Word of God and Jesus to look at, to try to do our best to be that. But until that point, when we get to see him face to face, we're never going to really be there. You know what I mean? And it was kind of reassuring, because it was like, I'm going through a season right now where it's like there's a lot of ups, downs, lefts, rights. Dad's battling cancer, and I mean we're in a good spot right now. But next week we could not be in a good spot, and so there's a lot of weeks that I wake up and I'm just like, God, what are we doing today? Like why? Like why today? It's never anger. It's never why are you doing this to me? But it's just like, what is the grand plan here? And to read that and just know that it's an enigma. I mean, it's a broken mirror that we're looking in, that we're never going to get a clear picture, but one day we will have a clear picture. So, and my faith journey has been something, to say the least. It's a long story. We could probably go 2 hours just on that. But I found Jesus, and then I strayed away. And then I came back and I found Jesus in another way, in a more human way. And I'm realizing that even though he is all God, he was all human too, and that he understands our trials and our tribulations and our strife, and that what we're doing here is just it's our place to love, and it's our place to do what we can. But at the end of the day, it's all about him and resting on the faith that we have in him, that he's doing what needs to be done in our lives. So
that's awesome. Yeah, so So that's your faith journey. Let's talk about your fishing journey. And so
it's not as cool, I promise you.
So I know you can go and listen to Alex's podcast or watch his videos, and you will get so much more backstory than you will on this podcast. But kind of give us the rundown of what Alex Rudd Fishing is, how it came to be, and how it has evolved into what it is. Yeah,
man. So to be totally honest with you, when I started this whole thing, I had no intention of it being what it is today. Like I don't even know really why I started a YouTube channel, to be totally honest with you. I think the biggest thing was, and I've said this before, is that my whole life, all I've done is fish. Like, that's what I've always loved. I've played some sports and did some other things, but at the end of the day, it was all about fishing. Like, me and Dad went fishing. Fishing is what I look forward to. Fishing is everything that I've ever known since I was big enough up to walk around and know what fishing was. My earliest memory is literally fishing. And so, years go by, and I do all these things. But one thing that I always did enjoy was, like, freestyle motocross out in the desert. Those like old videos of the dudes that are out there like flipping the motorcycles, and like rock and roll music's playing, and it's like punk rock. Like, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, these people get me. Flat bills, punk rock, like these are my people. But all at the same time, I'm like, I can't relate to this because like I enjoyed dirt bikes and I enjoyed four-wheelers. That's something else we did because there's a bunch of redneck kids. But it was like, it still didn't apply to what I loved the most, which was fishing. And then like, I would get on YouTube and I would watch these montages of these dudes flipping these dirt bikes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that in fishing. That's what I'm going to bring to the fishing world. It's like, I want to try to make it cool. And so that's what I did. I bought a GoPro, I think I was a senior in high school. I bought a GoPro, or Mom and Dad probably bought me the GoPro. I can't really remember, to be honest with you. And I go out and I start making fishing videos. And it was so funny. I'll never forget. My dad says this all the time. I'm in the back, like adjusting the GoPro. And he's like, will you leave that Dad Jim GoPro alone? The fish are up here biting. I'm like, yeah, let me get it set. And like, the next week, somebody calls me and wants to give me fishing baits because I'm making videos. And I'm like, well, that's kind of strange. You know what I mean? It's like my whole life, all I've ever wanted to do is go fishing. And it was like at that moment, I was like, so like people are willing to give me free things? Like if I go fishing and make videos about it? And so I just kept making videos, and it kept building, and it kept growing, and I got into it 3 or 4 years into it. And then it's like, I start to understand that I have this thing, and as I evolved, the channel evolved. I mean, it's kind of vice versa, it went from these montages to sit down videos talking about fishing to, like fishing trips and like, more editing and da-da-da-da-da. It evolved over time as I evolved over time. And as I grew, it grew. And it got to this place where like, I realized I have this thing, and this thing is valuable. And I have to figure out what the value of this thing is, because if these companies are coming to me and they're saying, hey, we're willing to give you $8,000 worth of gear in return for videos, well, then how much money are they willing to give me? And can I really take this thing and can I turn it into a business, and can I monetize it in a way that I get to do this for a living? And by this time I was in college. I had worked for 6 years at a hospital right out of high school, did that, and I decided to go back to college because I hated my job. I didn't want to work in a hospital. So I went back to college to be a teacher, because that was one thing that I always said, like, if I ever go to college, I want to get my degree in education. And, as I went through college, I was kind of on my own schedule. I went to college classes, I mowed yards, and I made YouTube videos. And that's how I made money. It was awesome. And it just kept growing, and it kept growing, it kept growing. And in the year I graduated from college was the year that I realized, like, I am within a few years, I'm within a few sets of numbers away from like this actually being an achievable dream to make this a full-time job. And that was 4 years ago. And this past June, financially became possible for me to quit my job as a teacher, because I literally make more money doing YouTube and podcasts and all this crap than I did as a teacher. And I turned it into a business, and Alex Rudd Fishing is here, and it, I'm able to do this for a living, because at the end of the day, man, you know, the YouTube journey for me started out as something just as a to do, and it developed into my means to be able to fish for a living. Because I'm not a big tournament guy. I've never enjoyed tournaments. I've never been in on that scene. I never had any desire to go fish the Bassmaster Opens and becoming a pro. And I thought, I got to figure out my way to get into this so that I can do this for a living, and YouTube videos, you know, and so that's what we did with it. I mean, we grew it, and if it wasn't for, you know, my wife, first of all, like if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even be here. She is the more moderate, technical, you know, statistical side of my brain, because I'm like big ideas. I'm like, we're going to the moon. And Bethany's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. How about we get the parts for the rocket ship and start building it before we try to go to the moon? You know, and I'm just like, no, we're going to the moon. And so if it wasn't for her, and obviously my mom and my dad supporting me like I did, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And that's my journey on YouTube, dude. That's my journey. That's how I got here. I was just a kid who loved fishing, who, like, through the grace of God and everything that's lined up the way that it has, blessings is all it's been, is I've been able to turn this thing into a job, and I get to go fishing for a living now. So it's pretty freaking cool.
That's awesome, man. So I wanted to ask, has there been a moment that you were like, man, I'm in the, when was it that you were like, I'm part of the fishing community now. Like I'm part of this. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been so many cool things, right? I mean, like I've been blessed with some of the coolest opportunities, you know, getting to fish with Jimmy Houston, getting to fish with Edwin, you know, being around these guys who are really good. I mean, legends of fishing, you know, sitting down at the same table as these dudes that some people would give their left foot to talk to, and, like, you know, get to just have a normal human conversation with them. You know what I mean? I think for me, my moment, I don't think it was like a moment where I was, you know, with people or surrounded by people or anything like that. It was just like that moment that, the moment that I like woke up the first day after, you know, when school went back and I wasn't there, and I woke up and I was like, half past the freckle and I don't got to be anywhere, you know, like I'm like, I get to get up and like do whatever I want to today. Like I'm like, the fishing industry is like my job. Like these, you know, like, I don't know. It was like my brain couldn't wrap around. And it's like for about 2 weeks after, you know, right there, I was just like, I don't know what to do. You know, it's like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. There's like, put them down by your side, Ricky. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do with my hands. You know, like it was crazy. I think that was my moment, honestly. Like it wasn't like in the boat with somebody. It wasn't, you know, at ICAST or whatever it was. It was just like just waking up one morning and being like, I don't have anything to do today but worry about trying to catch a fish and make a video. I was like, it's pretty dope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like I said, I mean, I've listened to a ton of your podcast and watched a bunch of videos, and it's just cool following the whole story, and you condensed it into, you know, the condensed version. But I think one of the coolest things for me, and one thing that sticks out, was maybe it's probably been a year and a half ago, and I don't even remember what the podcast was, or I think you were just kind of monologuing by yourself at one point, and you were like, yep, I've got it all mapped out.
Yeah.
I know the exact date and when it's going to happen and when I can go full time in this. So, I mean, it's definitely something that you put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into to figure out the money side of it, the logistics of it, and when you could, as comfortable as possible, take that step out and say, you know what, I'm not going to teach anymore. We're going to go with this full time. And I know from being self-employed and a business owner that it is one of the most satisfying things and also one of the scariest things when you're like, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah.
But I think the whole thing is pretty cool, and it's a pretty cool story to follow along with. And there's so many different directions that I want to carry this to right now. So yeah, I'll probably be all over the place, but dude, it's so cool to see that and to see the progression of it. And like, I've even went back, like, I don't know, it's been a year and a half, 2 years ago. I went back and watched all the way to first video you posted, which I don't even know if it's still up there now, because in one live you're talking about, I just started filming one day, me and my dad fishing or whatever, and like with that live was done, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go look it up. I go all the way back to the front. Sure enough, it's just you and your dad fishing, and then you follow the progression. You see the editing getting better, you see the storytelling getting better, you see the teaching aspect of it come in, and then it just keeps on snowballing, keeps on taking off. And one reason I think people enjoy that, and one reason that I think you've had so much success, is because not only do you do those things and on YouTube, the teaching aspect, the fun tournament videos every once in a while, you keep it fresh, but also too on your lives on Friday nights, there's been a lot of times where you have done a special live because you wanted to raise money for somebody or something. That piece of it is a key piece that draws people in and keeps people coming back to see and hear what you have to say. And I don't think you realize how big your voice is on some of the things that you bring up, such as in the recent past, the whole tournament thing. I was holding my breath the whole time you were talking to the tournament director from, it was either North Carolina or South Carolina, somebody that you got on there to talk about.
He's the director of, come on, Alex. I forgot his exact title, but he runs essentially the county commission portion of Anderson, South Carolina.
Anderson, that's what it was. So you're talking to this guy, and of course, anybody that's listened to your podcast before, I'm listening to the podcast, and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, dude, this tourist guy he's not prepared for what Alex is about to throw on him, because I could see the thing building the whole time. But you did it in such a professional manner.
Appreciate that. And
because it didn't go down exactly the way I thought it was, but then I was like, oh, well, that's exactly how that should have worked, because that dude was cool.
Yeah.
And he was giving you the information that you needed to do with it for your local lakes. And I grew up in Clarksville, went to school in Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, so cool. I'm familiar with all your lakes that are around there, and familiar with. I fished mainly Kentucky and Barkley Lake growing up, but there were so many tournaments and stuff on those lakes that I get 100% what you're talking about some of these towns somewhat taking advantage of that, and it's the things that you're putting out there and the voice that you have. It goes a lot further than you probably think that it does.
Oh, well, I really hope that it does. And that is my hope, is that, I don't say this to be pretentious. I say this because this is the truth. When I look at the numbers of the people that I'm reaching, I have to think that when I do something, that it has somewhat of an impact on somebody somewhere that's got more sway than I do, right? Because I've only got so big of a bat to swing. But I know if I get in contact with the right people, and I do it in a respectful manner where we're not pushing all the wrong buttons, but we are asking the hard questions, and we're asking them in a way that's thought-provoking, that one day somebody with a big enough bat is going to get a hold of this and they're going to swing it for me. And, that's the plan with that whole thing, is I'm working my way up the ladder, that I'm trying to get to finally, even if it's Tim Burchett or, Bill Lee, that I finally get somebody on the podcast and I can ask them a question, because that's my hill to die on. That's the thing that for me is, my family would probably disagree with this statement. I'm not a very political person, but I keep up with politics. But it's like I know what I believe and all that, but it's like there's only so much I can do with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this conservation aspect of being a fisherman and being a conservationist and being, to me, an environmentalist. Because that's another thing that I think a lot of people who hunt and fish don't realize, is they are the biggest proponent for environmentalism, bigger than any tree hugging hippie could ever be. Like, we understand the environment and understand nature in an intimate way that, I see duck decoys behind you. I can promise you probably know more about ducks than anybody that's fighting for, to take hunting rights away from duck hunters will ever know about ducks. And it's that intimate nature that we have with those things that I think makes us the ultimate proponents for change in a way that's going to be sustainable for the foreseeable future,
And I think we have the most vested interest in those things because we want it to be here for our kids and their kids, and we want those populations to flourish. We want to be able to go catch big bass. We want to be able to go and shoot a limit of ducks, and we want to make sure that those things survive and that the people around us are doing things that are going to promote that. So I think you're exactly right in that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's and you're right, man. I mean, we should have a seat at the table. We're stakeholders. And I mean, we're stakeholders in a way that no one else is a stakeholder in the outdoors. And I mean that not only in a almost a relational way with the outdoors. I mean, we all have a relationship with the outdoors in a way, right? But like in a financial way as well. And dude, we financially support an entire system. I mean, literally hunters and fishermen almost solely support financially the North American model of conservation. Yet we don't have a seat at the table, even though we're the biggest stakeholder in decisions being made that affect what we are upholding. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, I'm working my way up the chain. I really hope that my voice, like you said, is bigger than I think it is. And I hope that people are listening and they realize that, hey, that Alex Rudd guy, he's not that big of a butt. Like, he's actually just making some really good points, and like people really do need to listen to what I'm saying, because I really do think about conservation. I think about the outdoors, and I think about our fisheries, and I think about things in just a different way than I think most people think about it. You know what I mean? But I know there's other people who think like me. They may just be scared to let their voice be heard. And I think that, let me be the guy. Let me be. I'll swing the bat, man. Like, I am not afraid to make people mad. I'm not afraid to let my voice be heard, because at the end of the day, we have to be the squeaky wheel, or nothing's going to get done. And one day we're all going to wake up, and we're going to look at each other, and Robert, you're going to call Cam and be like, "Dude, have you caught a fish in weeks?" No, I haven't. Like my dad talks about when he was younger, like my age. He would go hunting with his buddy, and he said if you heard a turkey gobble, that you had done something. He said it used to be so bad that if you just heard the turkey gobble, but like, dude, you were high-fiving and like going home telling your buddies you heard a turkey gobble. Well, a bunch of hunters got together who wanted to see turkeys on the landscape. And, they started the Wild Turkey Foundation, and like they built up turkey populations that now in North America, dude, I can't even slam my car door during the spring without turkeys gobbling on my ridge, and they're everywhere. And so it proves that if a group of like-minded people who love the outdoors and have an intimate relationship with the outdoors like we do can make enough noise and make enough change and come together, that we can make a change for the better. And I think that if we don't soon, and these conversations don't continue to be had, that 10 years from now, we're going to be looking back and we're going to be realizing that what we're living in now was the good old days. And I don't want it to be that way, because 10 years from now, I mean, I'm going to have a kid, and he'll probably be, like 9 years old. And I want to take him fishing with me, and I want to catch fish with him. And if they're not there, I can't. And guess what? If there's no fish to be caught, I also don't have a job, so like I can't have that happen either. So yeah, man, I appreciate that you appreciate that, and that that you see that making a difference, because I really think it is.
No doubt.
Well, I appreciate that you appreciate that he appreciates it.
Exactly, and I appreciate that you appreciate that I appreciate that he appreciates it too. So I mean, dude, we're on the same page about that one.
All right, man. So this is something that you probably get asked a lot. I know pretty much everyone who has made that jump to being full-time in the fishing industry. What is the biggest misconception that you think people have? These people who start start a fishing brand of some sort, whether it be a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever, in terms of going from that starting position to where you are now doing it full time? What's the biggest misconception that people have about that process?
I would think probably like time put into actually like the work part of it. Like it's still, I mean, like, okay, I'm going to preface this whole entire statement by saying I have the coolest job in the world. Okay. I love my job. I get excited to get out of bed in the morning and go to work, you know, and they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I truly do believe that. What I feel like I'm doing isn't work because I do enjoy it so much. Like this tonight, you know, most people would be like, oh, this is, but me, I'm just like, I'm here. Like, I love this. I love this part of it. Right. But it is still work. You know, tomorrow I have to sit inside all day. I've got 3 videos to edit, and it's probably going to take me about 4 to 5 hours per video to edit them. And so I'm going to pull probably 12 to 13 hours straight tomorrow to get my videos edited so that I can get caught up. Because if people haven't noticed, the week of whatever's the first week of November, I've not posted this week. And it's because I got behind on my posting schedule because I was fishing, trying to get caught up. And so tomorrow I got to put the work in. Tomorrow I got a call with a sponsor. You know, like I'm putting in 50, 60 hours a week still, and it's still work, but I love every bit of it. But it's just the work. And I think not only do people misunderstand that, but like companies misunderstand that too. Like a lot of these companies, I'm blessed to work with some really good companies that understand that when I send them a 30-second clip, that there could have been 2 to 3 hours put into that 30-second clip to get it refined to what is good to put on social media. And, you know, one thing that I say all the time to these companies is that it is my job to get up every single morning and not only catch fish, but to figure out how to get the most views and the most engagement and the most reach and the most likes on every single thing that I put out there, and to help me grow and to help you grow as a company. And the only way that I can do that is to put in 40 hours solid a week of real deal work. You know, now I have days that I get to slack off and do, you know, whatever, but like it's still, I got to put in the work. And I think that's the biggest misconception. I think a lot of people think that it's once you've made it and once you're doing it, it's just like lay back and eat ding dongs and pick your belly button and drink Cokes. And it's like, nah, man, you still got to just get out there and put in the work. I mean, the work is what got me here. And if I quit working, then guess what? I don't got it anymore, you know? And so I just went from working 80 hours a week to working 60 hours a week. But, you know, it's fun now. Like I don't have to go to a job and sit inside a concrete building all day. I actually just get to like do what I like to do. So that's fun.
Absolutely. I will say I had no idea how much work a podcast was going to be whenever I started it.
Yeah.
I will say that moving to StreamYard has helped with that a lot, because I don't have to do near as much editing as I used to. Mm-hmm. I used to record a phone call.
Oh, wow.
And I would, you know, put all the ads and stuff in post, and I would do a separate intro for every interview and everything. And, and that was, you know, right about the time that I started doing StreamYard is whenever I started to get real burned out.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I started asking, like, hey, I need a co-host. I need help.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought Robert in to breathe a breath of fresh air into the podcast, and I think he's done it. But
it's work, man. I mean, like, but I tell people all the time, if you love it, do it. Like, and when I say do it, I mean really do it. 110%. Go. I mean, I used to stay up to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I literally, for about right before I went full time, which I'll say that was probably a year to 2 years right there. Like COVID was really, I mean, if it wasn't, COVID did horrible things, but for me, it was a positive. You know what I mean? Like, luckily, none of my family, you know, died of that, and none of us got extremely ill. But like, you know, what it did do for me is it gave me 6 months of paid vacation, essentially, to just go and like execute as hard as I possibly could. And like from that point until the day that I quit my job, like no joke, I was working 80, 90 hours a week. And, you know, I would come straight home from teaching. So I would get up 6:45, 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, drive to work, be at work 7:30, teach from 8 till 3:30, stay usually until 4 or 5 o'clock, getting all my lesson plans, getting everything together, drive an hour back home, be home at 6, kiss Bethany on the mouth, usually get on a phone call with some company, do a podcast, do whatever I had to do to keep going. And then I would start editing at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and I would edit till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, upload title, thumbnail. By that time, it's 3 o'clock. Go to sleep, get back up 6 o'clock next morning and hit it. And I did that for literally 2 years straight until the point that I could, like you said earlier, Robert, like you look at it and you can say comfortably, and with as much like gusto as you can muster to make the jump. And I think, that's the misconception I think a lot of people have. And it's not just like, it's not, holier than thou, look how hard I work. It's just, I want people to realize that are listening to this, you can do it. It's just, you better be ready to put in the work. The ditch doesn't get dug by looking at the shovel. You got to pick it up and you got to start just one shovel full after another. And next thing you know, you've got the ditch dug. And this stuff is no different. It's not going to come to you in a handbag and just be handed to you. It's hard work. And especially if you want to do it the right way, because there's people that do it the wrong way or cheat or lie or steal. And I'm not that guy. I've always wanted to do it my way. And that's usually the hard way because I kind of work harder, not smarter sometimes. But it's the work is definitely worth it. So
absolutely, I'll add to that. I'll say, like you said, if you want to do it, do it. Have high standards for your work. Take pride in what you're doing. But if it's not the perfect production that you see. Someone like John B have on YouTube, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, start somewhere.
I tell people all the time,
Go ahead and start somewhere.
Get 1% better every single day. And if you do that for a year, you go 360% better. Yeah. And
absolutely.
People don't want to hear that sometimes because that's, again, that hard work comes back into play. But again, get 1% better every single day for a year. Be 365% better. 365 because 365 days in a year. You get what I'm saying? I'm a teacher. I should know that. But anyway, there's 300. You'd be 365% better. That's just the solid fact of it. And just imagine if you start and say that John B is your guy, like he's who you aspire to, to be like or to emulate, and you love his style. My guy was always Casey Neistat. It's like the imperfection of perfection. It's like perfection in the imperfection. You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm too scatterbrained and ADHD to be perfect. I got to have a little bit of chaos thrown in there. And so, if you want to be like that, try to be like that 1% every day. And I can promise you by the end of a year, the end of 2 years, the end of 3 years, you're going to be amazed at what you'll be able to put out there. Just like playing in a band. That's what I always say. It's like playing in a band. Nirvana didn't become Nirvana overnight. They sucked for a long time before they wrote Smells Like Teen Spirit. And, then they were Nirvana. So,
yeah, absolutely. And you go back and listen to like the first couple episodes of this podcast, and it is terrible. It is terrible.
We were talking about that the other night. Me and Andrew Hayes from Taco Talk podcast. He was on the live stream. And I was like, I went back and listened to the first live, and it's like, yep, I think we're live. Nope, no, we're not. All right, let's wait for a few people to get. Dude, I didn't even know how to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like, not the podcast. I'm like, welcome back to another episode of the Alex Repetition Podcast. And I got the thing down, and I can do it. And it's like, I don't know, you just got to do it, man. Just got to get out there.
I was going through it was very much an interview and not a conversation. I had a list of questions that I was going through, and I had Chad Hoover on, and he was the first episode that aired with a guest was Chad Hoover, and he would his response to a question would lead into another question. He was like setting me up for another question, and I'd be like, all right, next question. Like I literally said, all right, next question.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Chad, Chad will just grab right a hold of the reins and ride it hard. He's, you just got to let Chad go sometimes. It's just all right, Chad, what do you think about the Democratic Party and just sit back and just like let him go because he is going to go on a 3-hour dissertation about something. Like, I love me some Chad, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, we are getting pretty close to 50 minutes here. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a couple ads, and then we are going to jump into what's your favorite.
Awesome.
A huge selection and crazy fast shipping is already enough to turn heads as an online tackle shop, but Omnia Fishing sets themselves apart with their ambassador program. With Omnia, you can send in fishing reports for your local lakes that recommend baits, structure, tactics, and gear. And when another angler takes your advice and purchases something from your report, you get credit for it to spend at Omnia. The best part means that with Omnia Fishing, you can shop by lake and purchase baits and gear that are proven to work where you're fishing. To get started, go to omniafishing.com and use promo code FNF15 to save 15% on your first order.
Whether you're a Ned Rig vet or a finesse fishing noob like me, Jade's Jigs is your source for high-quality finesse jigs that raise the bar by being lead-free. Using a tin bismuth alloy not only makes Jade's Jigs eco-friendly, it also makes the jig lighter so you get the same profile with less weight for the fish to feel. Check out jadesjigs.com, that's JADESJIGS.com, to see their full lineup of jigs, styles, and colors. And since you're a Faith in Fishing listener, you can save 10% on your order by using promo code FNF10 at checkout.
All right, so this is the What's Your Favorite segment. It's self-explanatory. We're going to ask your favorite in a few different categories, and we're going to get it started off with, what is your favorite scripture?
Favorite scripture? Oh, man, that's a good one. And there's so much. So, okay, so I'll give you one, and I honestly don't know the exact verse, but I know that it is in, I believe, Leviticus, which, okay, first of all, people are thinking Leviticus. Now, come on now. There's nothing fun in there. There's actually some pretty good stuff in there. So, right before they go into the Promised Land, Moses, addresses Israel. And this has kind of been something that for me this year has been it's been a verse that kind of resonates with me. And what Moses is talking about is Moses says that, they're going to be going into the Promised Land and going, they're going to have to go to battle and they're going to have to slay, all these different nations that are in the Promised Land, And Moses, and I'm assuming, you got to assume that God is, I don't know, supernaturally, imposing, the words that Moses is speaking to Israel, right, on to Moses. Moses says that there's going to be trees that bear fruit and there's going to be trees that don't. Now, the trees that don't just disregard them, because those trees can be used to make reinforcements and to make weapons and to make, the things that trees that make fruit can't do. And this year has really I've kind of held on to that, because there's going to be times where there's trees that bear fruit, and there's going to be trees that we think, that's a very useful tree. And then there's going to be other trees that we walk up to and we're going to be like, what is the use for this? When really it's a use to go to battle. It's a use to put up put on the armor of God and go into a day, because that day is probably going to suck. I've had a lot of sucky days this year, and so is my dad. My dad worse than me, obviously, but I had some sucky days this year, and so that's been a good one for me. I'll have to go back. I think it's in Leviticus. I know I was reading it, and it was one of those I had this Bible plan, and I'm reading through Leviticus, and I'm bored out of my mind. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, so that tribe and this tribe and this and that, and then you get to this one part, and I'm just like, huh, that's actually pretty good. Just kind of thrown in there like that. That's pretty solid right there. So yeah, that's one of those, God kind of just showed me that one. So that's been I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely one for this season. You know what I mean? This season in life.
Absolutely.
Well, this kind of goes along with that, but what's your favorite Bible story?
Ooh, favorite Bible story. Job. The whole story of Job. I love Job. Job is a great example of a lot of different things for me. Like a lot of different things. Number one is supernatural world that's around us. You know, this spiritual, supernatural world that a lot of people just don't even realize, dude, the veil is so thin and it's right there at any one time. And that, you know, like the whole beginning part of Job, if you really read it, is like this crazy story where the devil just comes walking into heaven and like literally addresses God in the throne room, is like, hey, I want this guy. And God's like, go ahead, test him. Like, to think about that, you know, is mind bending, because we think about these characters in the Bible as not, like, we don't realize that this is a spiritual realm that is ever existing around us, that is, you know, that the devil has been in heaven and he passes back and through, and God, you know, conversates with him and talks to, like, that's craziness. But then the actual story of Job, and just, I mean, everything was taken away from him. Every single thing that you could imagine, except for his wife, which I think that there's a pretty good joke there. You know, it's like, you know, I think everybody was sitting around there like, hey, Satan, you know, his wife's still there. And Satan's like, oh, I know, boys. I know what I'm doing here. But for real, though, it's just, you know, when at the very end of Job, when God is having a conversation with Job and he's asking him, you know, have you seen the depths of the sea? Have you seen the heights of heaven? Have you seen the universe? Have you seen all these things? It's like, do you understand that I'm holding that all in balance? And it's like, you know, and I'm doing that without even thinking about it. You know, do you understand that? And Job then realizes that it's, you know, his faith in that process and his faith in this endless God that works outside of time is everything that he has. That nothing on this earth, everything's going to pass away, but in the end, God's always there, and that relationship with God's there. And dude, Job's a good one. That's one that I've read it a lot, and especially in this season in life, is to realize just how, as bad as it gets, there's still something. I mean, the rock's there. You know what I mean? God's always there doing his thing. Jesus is always working, which is it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. All right. What is your favorite fish to catch?
Oh man, hitting me with hard ones. I'm going to say bass in general. Now, when it comes to like specific bass, like spot, smallmouth, or largemouth, I've been on a spotted bass kick lately. I love catching me some spots. They're fun. They fight hard. They're crazy. They'll eat top water like when it's like 40 degrees outside. You know, they're a different breed than most fish. But yeah, I'm gonna have to just go bass in general. I mean, I've caught some pretty cool fish, and the red fishing though, for real, it'll ruin you. Like, it'll straight ruin you. Like that first redfish that ate a spook topwater, I was like, oh, so this is what everybody would like sell everything that they have for and move to the beach, dude. So yeah. I don't know, man. I just love fishing. That is like the hardest question for me to answer, because it's like, oh, the carp are biting, you know, poop balls. Yeah, let's go ball some poop on a hook and let's go catch them. Like, I don't care, dude. I just love catching fish.
All right. This question's along the same lines too, but what's your favorite fish to fish for, to try to get to bite?
Ooh, muskies, man. Muskies are cool. So I don't know. It's hard. Again, I like getting them all to bite. I mean, but like, dude, those muskies are wild. Like, and I think I live in a very special place because, you know, they call them the fish at 10,000 casts. These muskies around here are not the fish at 10,000 casts. They're kind of stupid. But it's like just the process of catching those things, they follow things right to your feet. You know, like they follow it right up to the kayak, right up to the boat. And then, dude, when they decide they're going to eat, it is chaos. And it's a ton of fun, you know. But, yeah, that or a bedding smallmouth. Like a big bedding smallmouth up north in the Clearwater, dude. Like, those things you learn a lot about fish doing that. Like, you learn a lot about just how many times you can pass by their face with something and they'll flare out and they get in these defensive positions, but they don't eat it. Like, you know, you got to do something just right to get them to actually put that thing in their mouth. And it teaches you how little we actually know about the fish and how many fish that you're probably fishing are right by. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is your favorite fish to eat?
Oh, probably a crappie. I think a crappie just because it's nostalgia. My papaw for years and years and years, he doesn't do it now just because he's got too old. It's a little too hard on him, but he would catch crappie all year long. And at Christmas, we would do, fry 300 pieces of fish for us.
Oh my gosh.
All of our family would come, and we just eat fish and mashed potatoes and green beans. And so it's nostalgia, man. Crappie is just classic, son. So good.
All right. Favorite fishing snack?
Favorite fishing snack. Okay, so I have a problem because I don't eat like while I'm fishing at all. Like I literally so I've been on a bender for a couple days here now, and you know, these videos that I got coming out on this little bender that I've been on here are going to be fun ones because, man, I put in the work. Like that Crescent kayak, I'm surprised that it doesn't have a hole in it yet. Like I have been dragging it and portaging it and taking it places that it shouldn't go. I'm pretty sure I'm on like 9 different people's trail cameras in their backyard. Like I've been going and doing, right? And like both of those days, I would get off the water. Bethany, luckily, she gets to work from home. And so she'd drop me off and then pick me up at a takeout spot because I was doing these like, creek floats. And I would get back, I would put in at like 10 o'clock in the morning and be done at 5 in the afternoon. And Bethany's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I got a headache." And I'm like really weak. And she's like, "Have you ate or drank anything?" I was like, "I had a piece of breakfast pizza from the Waggles this morning and a Diet Coke." She's like, "Have you had anything else?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "That's why your head's hurting and that you feel bad." So yeah, I need to eat more while I'm on the water. Like if you got any good boat snack suggestions, hit me up. Like, because I actually need to start taking food with me. Like I'm the world's worst for that. Like fish for 13 hours straight and not eat or drink. I'm so bad about that.
I'm pretty bad about that too, especially with water. I will say, once I got the Perception cooler that attaches to the back of my seat, that helped a lot. Because it's just right here. Yeah. I don't have to like try to dig anything anywhere. But
I mean, you'll notice you've probably been hearing the clinking, people. That's my cup here. I like down like 4 of these at night because I'm so thirsty and dehydrated. I'm just like I'm gonna prehydrate. You know what I mean? Like get it all at night. Probably pee it all out by the morning time, and then in my mind I'm saying, "Oh, I'm hydrated," and then I won't drink for 12 hours straight. This morning was a bowl of Lucky Charms and a Diet Dr. Pepper. And then I edited into 11 and then got on the water at 11 and fished from 11 until 5 and then went over to my parents' house, cooked dinner. I didn't eat or drink anything until like 6:30. And I was like, "Alex, you're going to die. You got to quit doing that. Like Monster Energies are not food. Like you can't do that."
Yeah. I think it was Matt Souders from Paddle and Fin. It was telling us about he carries a pack of tortilla shells and a jar of peanut butter when he gets hungry. Yeah. He slaps it on the tortilla shell, eats it. He said he can get, a whole week's worth probably out of the damn pack of tortilla shells and a peanut butter. I thought that was a pretty good idea.
Heck yeah, dude. We used to do that. We went mission trips to Haiti, and while we were down there, ours was canned chicken and mustard. Dude, I'm telling you, some canned chicken on a tortilla with a little bit of mustard tastes just like a turkey and mustard sandwich. And I was like, hey, when you're in the middle of Haiti and it's 105 degrees outside and it smells like garlic and goat butt, like a little something from America goes a long way.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this is a question I'm excited about because if I am correct, I think I am. If I am correct, it is the same answer that I have. But what is your favorite lure to throw?
A frog.
Dang it.
What is it? What do you think it is?
The square bill.
Oh, man, I do love a square bill. But, like, if I could have one bait 365 days, 365, see, I got it right that time, 24/7, it would be a frog. Dude, I love a good topwater bite, but I do love a square bill bite. I love a bladed jig bite, too. I don't know. I'm a topwater junkie, though. Like, it's
hard to beat.
Dude, it is. Like, I love to interact with the fish in that way. Like, I think so many other fishing techniques detach us from the fish. And I think that's why so many people are addicted to live scope is because they get to interact with a fish in a way like where they physically get to see it, swim up to it and bite it. Like, and that's what I love about topwater or bed fishing or anything where I can physically see them do something. I'm addicted to that part of fishing. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, if they're biting a frog, that is hard to beat. I'll give you that.
Like when they're really eating it good, those where they like come up and it's just like when they do that, I start making like groaning noise. Like I had one in a buzzbait yesterday. This is no joke. I was on the phone with Bethany and I'm buzzing this buzzbait back and one like smokes it. And I literally in the video, it's so funny because I like make this noise. I don't even know what it was. I was just like, he goes, "2," and I was like, it's it's like it escapes from me. It's just like it's in my chest. Like it's got to get out. Like, oh, I love it, man. This just gets me going.
All right, let's see. Favorite body of water to fish?
To fish. Gotta be favorite body of water to fish. That's honestly kind of a tough one because I love all these lakes and rivers and things around here. I mean, that being said, though, Cherokee Lake has a very special place in my heart. Like it's there's just so many memories there. You know what I mean? Like I always do good there. It's just a lake that I've always done good. You know, I've won a tournament there this past year, came in third in another tournament. I have, you know, so many memories with Dad out there catching big smallmouth. Like it's just it's a beautiful, special place, you know. So probably Cherokee Lake. And, you know, people who watch my videos are probably like, what are you talking about, Alex? You're a river rat. You want to be in the river. And I do. I love me some moving water. But Cherokee is just I don't know. It's like a breath of fresh air when I go there. It's like every time I get on the water, I'm just like, okay, we're back. You know, let's go have some fun.
I understand it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I haven't been to Lake Cherokee, but I've been to that part of the country, and it is a beautiful, beautiful area.
That's home. Like that's what I told Dad the other day. We were literally driving home from Cherokee, and I said, "Man, this is just like when I think about home, like this is what I think about." And he's like, "Yeah, it is. Like that's East Tennessee right there. Like it's awesome."
Yep. For sure. And last but not least, man, what is your favorite time of year to fish?
Fall. I love the fall. I really do. It's tough. It can suck. But when it's good, you know, and it's just, you get all the fall colors, you get football. Like, dude, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that brings me more joy than going and catching them in the morning, coming home, walking into the house smells like pumpkin spice butt, and there's a pot of chili on the stove, and SEC game day is on in the background, and you get you a big old bowl of chili, and you're sitting there watching, you know, UT hopefully make it to the playoffs and hopefully beat whoever we play. And just like, you're just loving it. Like I think it's more just the whole mood, you know, it's the whole thing about fall fishing. It's not just the fall fishing. It's the whole experience of fall fishing that I love.
Absolutely. I love fall. My only gripe with fall is I just think it is cruel to have the fish chasing treble baits and all the leaves falling off the trees at the same time.
So it was funny. Video the other day. I literally said, and I made sure and put this part in. I said, I was throwing a crankbait down a bank, and I finally was like, I'm tired of these leaves. I'm like, keep hooking these leaves. I said, but you want to know something? Fun fact, when those leaves sink, when it gets cold enough, that the water gets cold enough that those leaves sink down, that's when they'll start eating this crankbait better. It was just like something in my mind was like, there's something about, literally, I don't know if it's buoyancy or what it is, but like the water gets cold enough, the leaves sink straight to the bottom, and that's when I pick up a small body diving crankbait and they start eating it good. It's just a weird observation of mine.
That's awesome. I'll keep that in mind for here in a few weeks.
Thank you.
For sure. All right, man. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up. What do you have coming up next for Alex Rudd Fishing?
Oh man, honestly, the year is pretty much open. After I have nothing planned, which is very unusual for me. But that's kind of something that is going into this next year. I'm going to try to do is not have a ton of stuff planned. You know, not go a ton of places. Just enjoy being at home. But going into the holiday season, I got 4 videos right now. 3 of which need to be edited. That'll be coming out very, very soon. I got a couple videos that I filmed the past couple days, and then a couple that I'm going to try to film next week. It's like a series. It's not going to be labeled as a series or anything, but it's going to be a series of videos fishing locally and fishing affordably. And I'm keeping it close to home, within like 5 miles of the house. I'm fishing out of the kayak, only taking 2 or 3 rods with me, and a bag full of gear, and going and showing people that there are fish close to your house. You may not think there are, but like you can get it done close to the house. And so we're going to be doing that. And then just going to see what else the year brings, man. Next year's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to next year. I got a couple more conversations that have to be had just to make sure that all the sponsorship and everything's set for 23. I got 1 done, 2 to go, and once those 2 are done, we're set for the year. And I've got some cool stuff coming for those sponsors too. So it's gonna be a good 2023, and just I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. We're gonna have some fun.
Awesome. And speaking of sponsors, I want to give you some time to shout out sponsors and supporters. Anybody you want to say thank you to? The floor is yours.
Yeah, so Pure Fishing is obviously my big one. Pure Fishing is Abu, Berkeley, Fenwick, Fenor, Plano, that whole family of brands. Pure is an amazing company to work with, and they have treated me incredibly. They really do see the vision of content creators, and so I got to thank them. It's huge. X2 Batteries is another one. If it wasn't for X2, literally wouldn't have the power to do anything. And I really, I'll preface all this by saying, before we get into this any further, these companies believe in me and I believe in them. This isn't just because they pay me, and I say this all the time, University of Tennessee may pay Josh Heupel a lot of money to coach UT football, but he still really does believe in UT football. And that's the way that these sponsors are to me. They literally help me to keep everything going. And so, but X2 is another one. They help to keep me rolling and keep everything in the water and keep everything powered. AFCO is another one. They literally keep me clothed. Like I have AFCO shorts and underwear on right now. So, you can only imagine, a man's got to have a good pair of underwear, and AFCO does make good underwear. So there's that one. But, and then Monster Bass, Monster Bass has been a longtime partner, obviously of the podcast, and I've done a lot with them. And so I got to say, I appreciate them as well. But, that's it. I kind of have I have a narrow bunch of people that I work with, and I have it that way because those are the people that believe in me, and I really believe in what they're doing, and so I appreciate all these companies. And then obviously my wife, because if it wasn't for Bethany, I swear the lights wouldn't be on in this. I don't even know how to pay the bills, to be honest with you. Bethany does it all. She's my financier. She's my agent. She is my, my rock, I don't know. She's everything, man. She's amazing.
Awesome. And if our listeners, if we've got somebody who's hard into the saltwater world, never heard of Alex Rudd Fishing, and is listening, is like, man, this guy's pretty cool, I want to find out more about him, where do they find you? Where do they follow your videos, and where do they follow you?
Alex Rudd Fishing on everything: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, podcast. If you just search Alex Rudd Fishing on literally any platform, my ugly face is going to pop up, and you're going to know it's me because it's my big old head with a beard on it. And so literally everything, just type in Alex Rudd Fishing, it's going to pop up.
Awesome. Well, Alex, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've had a blast, and this is one I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm glad we made it happen, man.
Absolutely. I'm glad y'all invited me on here. I appreciate you very, very much for giving me a platform and let me talk for a little while. It's I tell people all the time that I love this stuff, and so anybody that wants me to come on their podcast, hit me up, because I'm always down. I'll be there with bells on. So I appreciate you guys very, very much, and let me talk for a little while.
Heck yeah. Well, we'll have to do a follow up, because there's a bunch of different avenues that I didn't want this to be like a 3-hour podcast. We try to keep ours about an hour, 10 hour, 15 minutes, around an hour. But man, I want to hear about the X2 stuff you guys did. You get the podcast you and Bailey did together on that, or at least I listened to it as a podcast.
Yeah.
You guys sitting around and having all those different guys on, the whole rule thing. So Cam lives about 15 minutes one way from me. Paul Roberts lives about 15 minutes the other way from me. So
I'm sorry that you.
Yeah. But I think the whole rule conversation, and to kind of see where that goes. I thought you had some pretty good insights and thoughts on some of those, and so we'll have to get together again soon and go over some more of that stuff.
Absolutely. I'm ready. Let's send it. Let's pull a 3-hour podcast. I would be so down to do that. We need to make that happen. I'll send it with you boys. We'll just schedule, we'll block off a whole evening and we'll just go. We'll just see what happens. We'll make it the length of Lincoln, the movie. We're going to have to take an intermission in between.
Yeah, right. That's right.
We need to go ahead and call the sponsors, tell them, listen, we got to double down on this. The boys need some more money. We need some more product. We got a 3-hour podcast coming. All right,
you got it.
Guys, I really do appreciate you boys. I think I've been up since about 6 o'clock this morning. So I think what I'm going to do is fill up the old Buc-ee's cup, do some more pre-hydration tactics and techniques, and go get in the bed. So
sounds good.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again, and take care, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys again.
Later.
With 30 years of experience of handcrafting lures under his belt, Mr. B of Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, jigs, underspins, swim blades, and more right here in the U.S. All of his skirts are hand-tied, and all of his baits feature a baked-on powder paint, all metal components, and only Owner and Gamakatsu hooks. All of his baits come in a variety of colors, and if you purchase a bait in the Battle Shad color, 30% of the proceeds go to the Wounded Warrior Project. To see the quality for yourself, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, to place your order and use promo code FAITH, the letter N, FISH, the letter N, POD 1X10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order. Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle in Greensboro, North Carolina offers a wide range of products and services designed to help protect the environment and enhance the time people spend enjoying the outdoors. With an expansive year-round inventory of kayaks, SUPs, bikes, kayak fishing accessories, paddling clothing, biking accessories, and more, Get Outdoors has established itself as one of the top paddle sports and biking shops in the Southeast. They also offer a wide range of kayak safety and technique courses to get you comfortable in your new boat. They'll even get it rigged up for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or check them out at shopgetoutdoors.com.
Well, man, I expected to have a blast with this one, and I was not disappointed.
Oh, yeah, it was good. Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. So thoughts on this one?
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's exactly, kind of what I thought that would be. And like I said, there's so many different directions. He has so much content out there. He's on a lot of different people's podcasts. He's doing his own podcast. He's got his YouTube channel going. There's so many different things that you could cover, so many different directions. But I think, to start out with, that was a great episode, and, getting to know a little bit more, about his story and his faith story. I didn't really go into it with him, but I lost my dad to cancer too. So so many different things that I want to share with them and tell them. And I may do that, offline and not on the podcast, but, I get a whole lot of where he's coming from, and, there's a lot of ups and downs to go through in that whole process. And, it does, bring you closer in your faith as well. And, it's just one of those deals that, curveballs life throws at you, and you got to figure out how to, get through it. And, he's in the process of dealing with a lot of that stuff now. So, I thought it was awesome, dude. Like I said, that's one of the podcasts I listen to every week, and, just have a lot of respect for him and what he does. Absolutely. With the voice that he has, he's one of the people that, and he's not the only one, and there are quite a few, but he's one of the ones that are trying to make a difference and, raising money for different things and speaking out about conservation. There's a lot of different avenues, and he's always has his thinking cap on. So I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's every time we have another podcaster on, especially one where I'm listening to their podcast all the time, like Alex and like Andrew, and I'm always I catch myself once they start going, I catch myself listening like it's like I'm listening to the podcast, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm supposed to be part of this conversation too. Maybe find a place to jump in.
Yeah, it's easy to do for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, everybody, make sure that you check the show notes because all of Alex's stuff will be there in the show notes, all of his links. And again, thank you to Alex for coming on the show. That was awesome. Make sure you click that All Things Faith and Fishing link. You'll see all of our sponsor links. The mine and Robert's Omnia profiles are there. The merch store where you can get your t-shirts and your hoodies and stickers and stuff. So yeah, make sure you click there so you can support the podcast and those that support us. And that's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Faith and Fishing is produced and hosted by me, Cam Steele, and is sponsored by Jade's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Savior Outdoors, Atollas, and Mr. B Lure Company. Be sure to give us a rating and a review and to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.